Good morning, family. Happy Friday. I hope all of you rested well. Um, I did. I had a very good night's rest. And Sister Val, I read your comment when I woke up. I think I woke up like 3 hours after I posted that picture of my dinner that I cooked last night. Because I sat there and ate. And when I ate, the same spot that I ate my food in, I was passed out. And I woke up, I think it was like 2 or I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. When I woke up, you was like, you about to be knocked out. And you was right. You know, that's some good power packing stuff. And, I shared this like 2 years ago, the black rice and stuff like that. I ordered my black rice from this doctor and his wife. I think they're Asian. I can't remember, but I order it from Amazon. They grow the black rice, and I learned about it some years ago from Dr. Sebi of how beneficial black rice is for the digestive system. How it's like a healer. It fights a lot of antioxidants off and stuff like that. And it also makes you feel fuller longer. And when I first tried to find the black rice, I would go into like Earth Fare and some of the stores and look for it, but they have like the long, wild grain black rice. That's not the same kind, and so where I did found it was on Amazon. So I've been ordering from the same guy for a while. I haven't ordered none in like this year. I think I ordered the last time I ordered, so because I order a lot at one time and I have it stored here. And so I think the last time I ordered was in 2020, the end of 2022, or maybe early 2023 was the last time I ordered some, right? But it's very good for the body. And you know, and the vegetable, that was my first time doing my sauteed veggies like that with it. Cause really I was debating on if I was gonna make my chef salad yesterday or my rutabaga, because I got some rutabagas as well. And that's really what I was gonna bake my turkey necks for and put in the rutabaga pot. But after all that, the rain and stuff, just sitting by the window, listening to that reclining, and I wanted to get up and work out. I didn't do any of that. My body just wanted to rest, and that's what I did. And when I got up, I was like, oh, I don't feel like making no shelf salad. I don't feel like, cutting up no rutabaga, because, you got to shave it and you got to put all that pressure behind it to cut it up to get to the goodness of it. And so I just was like, I started sauteing the veggies, and I was like, I was pushing toward the rutabaga, and I put the um, turkey necks in the oven. Then I was like, I don't feel like cutting over the bacon. Let me just throw some black rice in the pot, because I ain't had none of my black rice in a while, right? So anyway, I think that's a good combination. But I'm making this video for my brother, my Carolina brother. Shout out to King J out there in Texas. You were asking if I could talk about the unclean foods, because I mentioned several times how I was healed of endometriosis once I got off a lot of the unclean foods that I used to eat. Like growing up, now my grandmama used to cook like full course meals and stuff with some veggies on the side and all of that. But still, growing up, we ate a lot of pork, in my family from all around. Everybody cooked pork, and it was the cheapest thing, the quickest thing to season your pot with. They seasoned the collard greens with it. They seasoned, the llama beans with it. They seasoned everything with it. So pork was the thing. And then you just didn't eat one part of, pork. They ate all the parts. Pig feet. I used to eat a lot of pig feet, them vinegar pig feet growing up. Now I talk about it. Now it's just like out of my system now. And we used to have the chitlins. My grandma, the thing used to be so stank. She would wash it and put it in vinegar and she would really clean hers. But that's like, I think, pig intestines, like, oh, the stuff we ate, And then I used to love shrimp. And so my mama ain't really used to cook like my grandmama cook full course meal, but she'll have little different things in the house. So when I'm hungry, I want to go and get something, I could go and get it. And then when I learn how to, cook, I could cook stuff on the stove, like little simple stuff or whatever. But for the most part, I used to like to fry a lot of butt meat. I like bacon. And I used to eat, when I was growing up, I remember I would cook bacon, and I could just fry me some bacon, a whole plate of bacon, just sit there and eat it growing up. eat it until my doggone head would start hurting sometimes. And I love shrimp, and then when I did turn into a young adult and had my own money and was working and had my own place, then it was steamed crab legs and stuff like that, all the delicacies and stuff. And so I used to eat a lot of that. Now, my family down in the low country, they steam oysters and stuff like that. They still eat that stuff, but I never could really get to that oyster, that slimy thing, and they would steam it and have the hot sauce right there and put it in the shell and eat it straight out the shell. I could never get jiggy with the oysters and stuff. But those are many of the foods that I personally had gotten off of, because for so many years after suffering with all of that pain of endometriosis, every month, all those years, all those different doctors, and I didn't even know I had endometriosis. I just used to have a lot of pain all the time. Every time my menstrual would come on, it would be like childbirth pain, so excruciating bad. I didn't want to live anymore. And I would cry out to God every month, for about 2 to 3, 4 days. Sometimes I'm in one spot on the floor, drenched with sweat, rolling back and forth. It's just so much pain. And they would medicate me and medicate me. They tried many different things over the years, and a lot of it affect me, my health. It affected, my hair, and after some years and started reading the Bible and stuff, I began to pray and talk to God about it. And and I put them to the test, and Leviticus and Deuteronomy is what stuck out to my spirit, because I kept wondering, how could this happen to me? I'm a young girl. I would say to God, I'm innocent. Like, how is this causing this pain? Like, this has got to be a root to this pain. And then when I read the lady with the issue of blood, that story, that built my faith. And I said, if you did it for her, you can do it for me, and like I said, Leviticus and Deuteronomy, this going back to the Bible, I says, what the clean and unclean foods. It was like that was constantly pressed in my spirit. And then I didn't really understand it. At that point, I didn't really understand a lot what I was reading, and the chew the cud and the one that don't chew the cud. So I had to take time to do research to actually learn what a lot of these clean and unclean foods was. And then I saw how I was eating, majority of what I was eating was coming from the unclean foods. And I was like, wow. And so I said, well, I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to stop eating this. And I did it in once I looked it all up and I learned, I said, okay, I won't eat that no more. And I did it in one day, like I stopped. And I remember some people would be like, girl, we grew up on that stuff. It ain't nothing wrong with that. It ain't what go in a man mouth to make him unclean. It's what come out. People would quote scriptures to me or whatever. I say, yeah, it ain't what go in a man mouth that make them unclean, is what comes out. So that means that no one should condemn you for what you eat, right? Because you have a lot of people, they get offended when you talk about this stuff. Like, you ain't hurting me, baby, because I know what I got healed from. And I know that some of that food is not meant for human consumption. That's why it's written. See, a lot of humans get stubborn. Even some leaders get stubborn sometimes, but it's only for our benefit. Like, it causes some of these foods causes issues within our body. And so when I stopped a lot of that food that I was eating cold turkey, like even if I was go to a family member's house and they had collard greens, if I see them pigtails in there, I wouldn't touch it. I don't want the juice from the pork. I don't want nothing. I'm listening to my chickens. We already ran out there one time because they making a lot of noise, but they ain't needed nothing. And nobody was out there. Daniel and Monte circled the block. But anyway, um, and so I did it cold turkey. And slowly but surely, time after time, the pain began to subside, right? And then I asked my cousin. I have a cousin who's also a medical doctor, and I remember I called her and I told her how they were medicating me. I should have called her some time way before, and how they were constantly medicating me. And she was like, "Did they ever test you for endometriosis?" I was like, "No, they never mentioned that." And she was like, "Tell them to test you for endometriosis." And when I told the doctors, he was like, "Oh no, you're too young for that. Young people don't have endometriosis or whatever." And so that was the end of it. But then once I changed doctor, like there was this doctor, because I would pray about it. I said, God, I said, what is this? Because even after like my pains had started to subside, I was like, what is this in my body? I said, something is there. Like, even though I know you're a healer, even though I know, the foods that I've been eating may have caused a lot of that pain, but what was that? Nobody had an answer. Like the doctors that I've been going to all those different years, like two, three different doctors growing up as a child, like they just kept medicating me. They never tested me for nothing. And then so it was just in my spirit. Like I kept questioning God. I want to know, like, I need an explanation for that. And I can't remember what my cousin had told me. This is some time had passed now, some years had gone by. And so I was like, help me find a doctor who can explain all of this. And eventually there was this doctor that I met when I was in college, and he was at this little I don't know, it was this expo thing or whatever, but his name came back in my spirit. And I was like, oh, I wonder where can I find him at. And so I Googled his name, and then I found where he had an office, and I went, made an appointment. I was like, you probably don't remember me, but you came to my college and all these years ago. I said, but the Lord brought your name back in my spirit because there was something that I had been dealing with for many years. And my cousin asked me, um, have the doctors tested me for this thing, but they just kept medicating me. I said, but I'm healed now. I said, the pain has subsided, but I want to know what this thing, was. And he said, well, has they ever tested you for endometriosis? I told him how I would constantly had the pains. And I said, no, they told me when I was younger, when I would go to the doctors, they said that the pain, um, is I mean, they said that I'm too young for that. He was like, no, it's not about the age thing. It's not about the age. Endometriosis. And he explained it, something what he explained or whatever. He was like, I forgot how he explained what it was, but he was like, there's no cure for it, but you can be tested. I said, well, what do you got to do to be tested? He was like, well, they just go in your navel with the laparoscopic. So I just start getting dressed, and I'm like, I was hopping on the table. I didn't want to hear no more. I was like, ain't nobody going in my navel. He was like, it's like a, one day thing. It's like a surgery. He was like, but you go home that same day. It's not that bad. I was like, I ain't doing that. And he was like, well, you asked my question. I answered your question. That's the only way, you really know. And then something just stopped me. And then I sat back down. I hopped back on the table and sat back. I was like, so I started asking all the questions I wanted to ask, and he took his time, answered the questions or whatever. Great doctor, and great. He's always been great, even to this day. Um, and so he was like, I can refer you to this gynecologist who is very good and specializes in that even more. And then he can do that procedure. He can explain even more details to you and do that procedure if you would like. I said, okay. And so he recommended me. I went there. The gynecologist talked to me even more about it and talked about how that disease, endometriosis, could cause cancer and cause you, not to have children, and it could get very aggressive and all of that. And I said, well, how would you know if you had that? He was like, we have to go inside to look. He was like, at your uterus and stuff like that, and inside there. And so sure enough, I said, well, I know that I'm not having the pains and stuff like that. He was like, yeah, but it could be so aggressive, there's no cure for it. Right. So when they told me there's no cure for it, like, I know that God had already started healing me because the pains that I used to have had already started subsiding. But when he went in, so I agreed for the laparoscopic so that I could know, right? Because even though I didn't want to do this thing, that I like to know knowledge for lack of knowledge, right? I wanted to know, was this it? And so eventually we agreed to it. Once I had it done, when I woke up, he showed me, he took pictures of the inside and he showed me. I think I got those pictures here someplace. That's my testimony, because God had already healed me through my faith and my actions by me stopping those unclean foods because the pain had subsided. But me wanting to know, have an answer for what this was me going through it, that whole process. Now, after I woke up, he showed me the pictures. He was like, yep, you've got endometriosis. I said, no, I don't. Because at that point, I was always big on words, and what I accept and receive from people speaking over me. And I was like, no, I don't. And then he was like, these pictures here. He's like, so I took pictures. He showed me the lesions of where there were like clots. And he said, I forgot how he explained the medical process. He was like, and so they pulse or something like that every time you get your menstrual. He's like, this is where, you have the pains, and I forgot how he explained all of this, but I literally saw these on this photo. I saw it, and I still have the photo here. Like I said, it's my testimony. And he said what he did was, he said he zapped, he burned those or whatever with the laser, or however he did. He said, now I want to put you on. He wanted to medicate me again. And I think that medicine started with a P or whatever. I kept it, but I wasn't going to keep it. Like, my mom was there with me, and he was like, I want to put you on this. I think he said it was a steroid or whatever. He said, because there is no cure for endometriosis. And I was like, nope. I said, nope, I'm not taking it. I said, I'm already healed. God has already healed me. And he was like, I'm the medical professional. I want to put you on this. There's no cure. And I was like, no, I'm telling you, you helped me find the answer of what was like I was going. And my mom was like, my mom would just hit me because I was like still laying on the bed, or whatever. She was like on the right side and he was on left, and she was like, just take the man. She like hit me or whatever, and I got quiet because he was getting a little agitated, but I also was getting agitated. And that was just my faith. It wasn't me trying to be disrespectful. It was just my faith at that time. And so, because I've been medicated my all them years, and so she was like, just be quiet. So I knew I took it, and but I never used it, and I have it to this day. All those years is in a pink pack. And so I've had that medication. I said, well, and I told my mom, I said, well, it's only going to be my testimony, because God has already healed me. I said, nothing is going to come back, because he was like, you're going to start back experiencing pain, and it's going to be more and more aggressive. He's like, because endometriosis doesn't go away. He said, there's no cure for it. And I was like, and I kept saying, I'm already cured. Like, I didn't receive those words over my life. And it's nothing to be, I was never trying to be disrespectful. I respect medical professionals. Like I said, I got medical professionals in my family, and I have friends who are medical professionals as well. But at that time, with me suffering all those years, I tried God, and God worked for me. And I know that it was because of those unclean foods that I was putting in my body. And I never took that medication. I have the pictures of my inside to confirm what I had. It is on my medical records. I have endometriosis. There's no cure, but I am living proof and witness that I am 100% cured. I have no more pain. I can function every month like a normal woman. I can get pregnant and have a child if I want to. I never had a hysterectomy. I have all my body parts. I am 100% healthy. God healed me, and he will get the glory and the honor for that. And that goes to show, that made me realize that what is written about the clean and unclean foods, it is written for a reason. Now, if I want to go back and start eating those foods, I will not be condemned by God. That will not send me to heaven or hell. It doesn't make me unclean, but it does have the potential to cause issues on the body. And a lot of those meats and stuff, they do cause mucus on the brain. And even some of the clean meats and stuff, I don't eat them regularly, but I still eat meat. Like, I'm not a vegetarian. I still eat meat. And you guys can see from what I cook and stuff. But I try not to let that like consume as much of it as I used to, because that learning from Dr. Sebi, once I came across him after some years passed, after I had already received my healing, he confirmed what I already knew. So, because sometimes people will try to make you crazy when you don't have certain qualifications, but that you're onto something. You know the power of God and what he's already done in your life. And you know that this word is true, and it makes sense because you were once eating these things and they were causing adverse effects. Like, I even used to constantly have sinus congestion, like my nose and stuff used to always be clogged up all the time. And even sometimes my skin, like people talk about eczema and stuff like that. Some of that's related to the foods that people eat. Like, people eat a lot of that seafood and stuff like that, like shrimp, crabs, lobsters, all the delicacies, stuff like that. And then you have some people, they eat it and they don't have an issue with it, but still yet those unclean foods can cause issues within the body, right? And so some years after that, after I received my healing, after God had already healed me, and I still had these medicines in my cabinet, and even when I bought my house and moved on, years ago, I keep that box. I always keep it for my testimony, in case anybody wants to see that. I keep that, and like I said, I got my picture somewhere in my office. of my insides, And when I came across Dr. Sebi some years ago, when I started listening to his teachings, then I realized he started saying he named endometriosis, and he named how all of the unclean foods of the Bible, he mentioned how the meats and stuff like that, he said all of that stuff produces mucus in the body. And he said that mucus causes endometriosis, it causes Alzheimer's, and he said, so I would heal people from those things by simply detoxing their body, cleansing the mucus out of their body. And I was like, wow. I learned about moringa powder from Dr. Sebi, the very brand that he used to promote. Now, I tried to find some more. Like, I ordered a lot of it. I'm glad I ordered a lot of it when I did, when he mentioned it, because I still stocked up on some of it. But he mentioned how that moringa powder has so many different minerals and irons. And he mentioned most sicknesses are due to mineral deficiencies and a lot of the water and stuff we drink. And that's one thing I love about grabbing my water from the healing springs, because that water has all the minerals in it. And I think that's another thing, how many people go and they see healing by just drinking nothing but that water, because their body is getting minerals that they may not have been getting through drinking tap or other bottled waters and stuff like that, right? But he mentioned how he cured people of Alzheimer's, endometriosis, by simply detoxing their bodies, getting all the mucus out of their bodies and off of their brain, and giving them, putting them on different diets and stuff. And then he mentioned how black rice, he would put them on black rice. He said fish, he ate fish from time to time. But he said a lot of meats and stuff, he really didn't eat too much of the meats, but definitely not the unclean meats. And so I learned a lot from him. And so sometimes when I would, do my detox, or I felt like I was getting, my body was getting ill or coming down with a cold or something, the number one thing I would do was detox. And I would, and sometimes every now and then I would, like sometimes this is what I do, and this is my own discipline. Like randomly I'll just, like I'll eat it. Like if I eat today, sometimes I'll go another 24 hours I don't eat, and if I eat that day, I'll do 24 hours I don't eat. Not that I don't really consider that my regular fast, like my warfare fast, because sometimes when I'm doing warfare fast, I could just stop eating for several days, or sometimes I'll do a regular warfare fast where I don't eat half of the day. I don't eat anything after a certain time, and I could do that for months on months. Like I'll stop eating at 6 p.m. and I won't eat again till 6 a.m. And I've been doing that for years sometimes. And that also benefits the body, give the body that half hour. When you wake up in the morning, you should have your bowel movement. You drink a hot tea or something like that. You should have a bowel movement every single day. There's not one day that should go by that we don't have a bowel movement when you've actually been consuming food, you know? And so, it's just little things that I do to discipline myself and stuff like that. But I don't have any restrictions in any of my diets other than the unclean foods. I stay away from those. And I try not to consume too much beef. Um, just, it takes a lot to process through the body. And that's pretty much it. I eat a lot of my vegetables. I love my vegetables and stuff like that. But growing up, I wasn't, I didn't eat a lot of vegetables growing up. But as I'm older, I do like cooking a lot of different vegetables. And there's some foods that will just, like Dr. CB used to say, eat to live. There are some foods that will help you feel great, like, I remember when my mom, when the doctor told her she was a diabetic, when she got nervous in the beginning, and the medicine that she was taking, I was like, I don't think you should take that, particular medicine. And she came and she stayed with me for some time, and we did a detox, because I have a lot of the different herbs that Dr. CB would mention, like burdock root, sarsaparilla, vervain herb, and vervain is very good for the central nervous system. So even sometimes if you like at night, if you feel like you don't really sleep well, if you take some vervain tea, if you make yourself vervain tea, it relaxes the central nervous system really, really good. Um, you know, uh, uh, I have learned about Irish sea moss from him. Sometimes I'll have the fresh sea moss if I can find a fresh Irish sea moss, because the Irish waters are much cleaner. And so I would find that, and wash it off and make gel, and like take a sip of the gel every day. But the powder, I also found a company that makes the powder. And so years ago I started buying the powder, and I buy these veggie tabs where I make my own Irish sea moss tablets. And so when I'm leaving for work and stuff, I'll take some days I'll do my Irish sea moss, and I also make my moringa powder tablets, because I don't like all that moringa powder, the raw original moringa powder. It could be so thick and choke you and stuff. So I would make my own tablets of those. And that, when I tell you that moringa powder is natural energy, it makes you feel good, mental clarity. I'll take one pill. Sometimes just two is enough for me. I'll take a pill in the morning, and I'll take a pill in the evening. I got my iron in that pill and everything like that, and I feel great. Sometimes I have to make myself stop, because I'll be like, okay, why are my eyes starting to ache me a little bit? Then I look at the time, and I've been gone for like 16, 15 hours, you know. And I have to be cognizant of the time, so that I also get sleep, because sleep is also something that causes us to heal and restore, right? And I am not a medical doctor. I'm just a little country woman of God who has learned from a lot from Dr. CB, and who also has applied the scriptures to my own life. And I stopped eating the unclean foods, and that is when I received my healing from endometriosis, right? I suffered with it for many years, just like the woman with the issue of blood who suffered under the many doctors for all them years. Oh, baby, that story resonated with me, and that's what gave me the pick me upper, And so, as much as I learn and read the scriptures, it started with me. Things always started with me. Healing started with me. And it just kept pulling me more and more to the scriptures of God, because as I learned certain things, I began to not just learn it, but apply it. And when I applied it, I saw um, God work in my life, and so that's where I have a testimony. So, yes, that's just my little 2 cents when it comes to the healing and clean and unclean foods, Brother Jay. I hope that answers your questions. But, I didn't think that I was going to be able to live a normal life. When I say that pain was something serious, like you going through all of that pain and ain't never pushing out no child. Like I remember my nursing teacher when I was going through my nursing class, and she said, she was like, it's so awful, because I used to have to go home every month. I used to have to get up out of there before that pain started or whatever, or either stay home whenever it got close to that time. And she was like, that's awful. She said, that is the pain of child labor. She said, the only thing you don't have is the birth part, where it tears, where you're actually physically pushing out. And she said that must be very exhausting. And then she said, unfortunately, some people, they do have to get a hysterectomy in order to stop that pain. And I was advised by several of the doctors, have you ever thought about just getting pregnant? I'm like, what are these doctors advising a young girl to just get pregnant like that? And I would say, I said, I'm not married, because I never wanted to have a child out of wedlock, period. I always said I never wanted to have a child. And I never was this type of person who just say, "Oh, I want to have kids." I always thought, well, say I would adopt a child, like I take care of what was already here. I was like, I ain't bringing no kids into this world. Um, and I never was just wanted to get pregnant outside of marriage, period. But I said, if I were to get married one day and we decided to have a child, and I want that, I would like to be able to um, have that option as well. And so, no, I never thought about getting a hysterectomy, because I wanted to, just keep everything God put on the inside of me. I knew that there was something that was the root of the issue. And it, like I said, God kept putting it back in my spirit, those clean and unclean food, because I had already read over that in the Bible before, but I never really took time to study it. And when I first started reading the Bible, it was very difficult to understand. It took years and years to keep building Bible strength and knowledge, because a lot of those words you don't understand. And even to this day, I still don't understand anything. And I've been studying it for years, but that goes to show that there's more to learn. It's a living book. But I had already read over that stuff by the clean and unclean foods, but I just, kind of just read through. I just like, oh, I'm just reading through everything just to get it in my spirit. And I would read from Genesis to Revelation. And when I finished, I would start back over from Genesis to Revelation. But that's what kept sticking in my spirit. Leviticus chapter 11 and Deuteronomy chapter 14. If you take time to study those chapters and really break down the clean and unclean food, and do your research, you can see what is it listing. They both confirm each other, um, clean and unclean foods, and then you can make the choice to whatever you want to change in your diet. And if you're having any type of certain medical conditions or symptoms, you may notice some things begin to subside. Yeah. And so anyway, that's just my little 2 cents. I hope that was clear or whatever. But God is a healer. He is a healer. And there are some foods that are not meant for human consumption. But don't let nobody, for those who want to eat what they want to eat, and take in what they consume, what you want to consume, have at it. You're free to do it. Let no man or woman condemn you. Jesus even said, it's not what goes in a man's mouth or a woman's mouth that makes them unclean. Is what comes out, is what we speak out of our mouth that can make us unclean. But it's not by the foods we eat that make us an unclean person, meaning unfit for the kingdom. That's all he was saying, right? And so anyway, you have a blessed day.